Hello, and welcome back to Real Time, where we talk about the movies we like.
And the ones we don't.
I'm
Sorry.
Tyler.
I'm, and I'm Molly. I was thrown off guard.
Anyways,
Sorry.
so today we are going to be ranking all 11 of the Star Wars movies. Today is the 4th of May. May the
May
4th,
the 4th be with you.
Now, this video is probably not going to be up today,
Most likely no.
but we can have it up by tomorrow for Revenge of the 5th.
Ha ha ha.
So, we're only going to be looking at the 11 Star Wars movies, which is the 9 Skywalker Saga movies and the 2 spin-offs that we have, that being Rogue One and Solo. We're not going to be looking at any of the TV shows because really you can't compare those two movies. TV shows have a lot more time to breathe and actually develop their characters, their storylines, all that sort of stuff much better than a movie can. So it wouldn't be fair to compare those because easily Clone Wars would be at the top of the list for me at least.
Yeah, and I also wanted to include the two Ewok movies that I do own, but
We never got around to watching them.
I've seen them before, but that was
I
years
didn't get
ago. So
And we weren't going to include the holiday special because
we didn't want to watch it.
I didn't want to watch that again.
No.
Honestly, we'll make that a review one of these days, along with all the other Star Wars movies, because honestly, we need to,
Yeah.
and we need to. There's a lot of stuff that we've recorded that we need to actually, edit and upload, but
Will you ever do that?
we'll see.
We will see.
So
All right.
let's
Ready?
let's start at the bottom of our lists and just work our way up.
Okay.
So, what do you have for the bottom of yours?
So the bottom of mine, and what I believe is the worst Star Wars movie, is The Rise of Skywalker.
That's the bottom of my list too.
I had to ask Tyler the names of these last three movies because I completely forgot them. They're so forgettable, so boring.
See, I say what you want about the prequels, and we will say a few things about them, but
Yes.
Lucas had a vision, he had a plan, and he had passion and heart when he made these movies.
Yes.
Okay, believe me, Attack of the Clones is crap. You'll see that pretty soon on my list, but I can't say that he wasn't earnest when he was making this movie. With the Rise of Skywalker, we have something that Disney made so that they can appease people who were pissed off by the Last Jedi. So we have something made by a studio that's trying to backtrack and not stick to what they were doing. Which, granted, I don't entirely like the Last Jedi, but give Rian Johnson this. He was trying something new. Was the new thing entirely good? No, not really, but he wasn't doing the same old thing. And just the meandering plot and the complete nonsense going on. Like, yeah, we get in the movie and in the opening crawl, the dead speak. Palpatine has come back to life. Like, okay, how? And then we get the absolute perfect line. Somehow Palpatine returned. Now, if you were playing Fortnite that week, you would have heard the message from Palpatine. But what kind of a way to make a movie is that?
What? I don't get it.
Like, there's a Fortnite event where they got the actual message from Palpatine in game.
Oh, I mean, okay. I'm still confused, but I don't really know how the game works, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's stupid. So, but what do you have to say about The Rise of Skywalker that I haven't?
Like I said, and I'll probably say again for the next two movies that I have on my list, but you asked me what this movie was about, and I will honestly say I do not remember. anything that happened.
Mm.
Because it was not entertaining to me. I just didn't, I just, yeah, it's just very forgettable for me.
Yeah, me too. Now, granted, there are some good things in this movie. Like Adam Driver is carrying this movie.
Yeah.
In all honesty, he is the best part of the sequel trilogy. He is just amazing as Kylo Ren, and as contrived as it was to have him back, it is nice to see Ian McDermott back as Palpatine. That was nice.
Yeah.
Now he came back in the stupidest way possible, in that he was a clone. Which, granted, this was a thing in the expanded universe, but it's like, could you elaborate a little bit more about how exactly this works? Like, seriously, where did all of this come from? None of this was at all hinted at in universe. So, why? How did this happen? It's ridiculous, but not in not in not in a good way, like we see with the Phantom Menace. All right. Now, do you have anything more to say about this movie?
No, I say let's move on.
Yeah. So, my number 10 is Attack of the Clones. Now, I did just say that Lucas had passion and heart when he made this movie, and that's true. It's still crap, though. Like, this is still not a good movie. We got terrible acting from a good amount of the cast, honestly. Like, no offense to any of them. I'm sure they're nice people, but this is not their best work. Now, granted, Ian McDermott and Ewan McGregor are still doing their absolute best in this movie. They do save this movie from being a complete loss. But the story is so meandering. We get too much of Anakin and Padme just talking to each other lovingly, but not lovingly, on Naboo or on Tatooine or on Geonosis or anywhere. It's just the main couple of this movie that's supposed to birth Luke and Leia. I don't believe them at all. It is just so flat out annoying and tired that I don't like sitting through this one either. Now, there is another bright spot, though. Christopher Lee saves this movie. Like, he was the first thing I saw him in. No, second. First one was the first Lord of the Rings. But this is one of the first things I saw him in, and it's like, wow, who is this guy? He is really cool.
Yeah, real cool.
All right. I could say more, but I'm not going to.
No.
Attack of the Clones.
I'll say my piece when I get to it.
Attack of the Clones, boring, dull, bland. But I will say this: I can find something to like in every Star Wars movie, as I've said. So I'm gonna try to look for the positives.
Yeah.
Wherever I can.
All right, my number 10, I put The Last Jedi. And I'm sure I'll save the talking for you. Well, I did not phrase that very well, but I'll let you talk about it more than me. Yep. Because all I really am going to say is I don't remember anything besides Luke being on that island, I think.
You'll let me rant?
Yeah, so I'll let you rant because I really honestly don't remember a thing. So that shouldn't... Yeah, that pretty much tells you everything you need to know. What my opinion on this movie is, I just don't care. I just don't. I don't even remember it. So.
All right. So my number 9 is The Last Jedi. Now, I don't want to belabor a point because so many other people on the internet have spilled so much ink over this movie. So I don't want to repeat everything that they said.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to say some of it anyways. This is a weird movie. It's not the worst experience I've ever had in the theater, but it was definitely the one that left me with one of the weirdest feelings. Like, I really I watched that, but it's like I don't get I don't get why a lot of that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now take Luke for instance. So when he was training Kylo Ren, he sensed the dark side in him, and he tried to kill his nephew. What?
Hmm.
Luke, the guy who refused to kill his father Vader when he himself said, "Too late for me, son." He decides, "I'm going to kill my nephew for wanting to go to the dark side." Maybe. Does this make any sense to you? Does
Mm,
it?
no.
No, it doesn't. That was so stupid. That was so ridiculous. I don't understand it. And then we get all this nonsense going on with Finn and Rose. I don't care about this casino side
Yeah.
plot at all. It was just so stupid. Like, yeah, they got to go to this casino planet to get the code breaker. Sure, fine, whatever, cool. But first, hold on. The First Order is tracking them, the ship that they're on, through light speed. Why didn't they notice that they were leaving on an escape pod? Why didn't you notice that? How did you not notice that? What's going on here? It's like they're making the rules up as they go along, then breaking them immediately afterwards. And then this casino side plot leads to just Rose going off about how much she hates rich people, and then they get thrown into a prison where there just happens to be a code breaker there who waited until they showed up to break out.
Yeah, that's.
What?
I don't get it.
That's so. How? Why did that happen? Now, maybe you can make the argument that he had just got thrown in like them. I don't know. Maybe. And then along with the side plot of Rose hating rich people, we get her wanting to save these weird space horses, which she does. They do free those, but you left all of these, poor slave children there to just keep being slaves to these people. I don't get it.
I feel like it's very unnecessary to the plot.
It was very unnecessary. Now, granted, I did like the character of DJ, the codebreaker that they found. Benicio del Toro is always fantastic to watch, so
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem with him. And side note, none of what we're saying here is meant to be an attack on any of the actors. Okay, I may have problems with the movies or stories or characters, whatever, but none of that is to do with the actors themselves. Okay, I say this because when this movie was released, a lot of people decided that they wanted to bully Kelly Marie Tran, which,
That happens a lot in Star Wars.
yeah, unfortunately it does.
Yeah.
They decided to bully this poor girl who who did nothing wrong. Like,
She's just doing her job.
yeah,
Man.
so don't bully any of the actors. That's absolutely ridiculous that I have to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, it's just stop it.
Yeah.
Don't do that. It's not the right. Don't do that. It's just not the right thing to do. Okay, none of our problems have to do with the actors themselves. Now, now back to my other rantings.
Mm-hmm.
And look, okay, I should stop because you all know my problems with this movie because they're the same problems everyone
Yeah.
else has.
No need to repeat, really.
No need to repeat, but I have anyways. But just to spitball it. There's um the whole Snoke thing, him getting killed off so quickly. Eh, anyways, it doesn't
Oh
matter.
well. Let's move on.
There's
How about that?
there's
Oh,
the whole
you're still
the whole
going?
nonsense on Crate, which some of it was pretty cool, honestly. Like with Luke facing down Kylo Ren, I completely buy Luke doing that. That is a pretty cool thing. And despite my issues with not Mark Hamill. Why did I say that? With Luke, Mark Hamill still is turning in a fantastic performance in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. And this was the last Star Wars movie that Carrie Fisher did before she died. They used unused footage for her appearance in Rise of Skywalker, and they worked around that. But this was the last one that she was able to actually do. And yes, it's been over 6 years since she died, and she just got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
All right, can we move on?
Yeah.
Because it's already 15 minutes in, and we're on what are we on even? Number 9?
You're number 9.
All right, my number 9 is The Force Awakens. So I did group the last 3, or the newest trilogy.
The sequel trilogy.
Yeah, all together because, to me, and this is just my opinion. I don't, I just watch the movies, man. But I just don't really like them. I thought that the Force Awakens was just kind of a repeat of A New Hope, but just not as,
not as good.
It didn't have the nostalgia with it. It didn't have the what's the word? The likability. I don't know. It just felt like something was missing, and I couldn't really put my finger on it.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I'll touch on that a bit when I get to where Force Awakens is on my list, which is quite a bit higher than yours.
Yeah, I noticed it's much higher than mine. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to say about these, and I mean, like you said, people have talked about these movies forever. There's nothing else that I can really say.
Yeah, just briefly going back to The Last Jedi, I was listening to this 2-3 hour video on this movie, and this guy took around 30 minutes to get past the first couple of scenes. It's like, wow, I agree with you, but
That's a long video.
Anyways.
What about your number? What are we on, 8 now?
Yeah.
Your number 8.
Okay, so going forward, I'm not gonna be as ranty as I was with the last couple of movies, but
I can't help. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
But I still have a few things to say here and there.
I can't help but notice that our number 8s are the same, so we could just group these together.
Yeah. So our number 8s are The Phantom Menace. So, okay.
Sorry, I wanted to say it together.
Anyways, so I actually saw this movie in the theater when I was 4. So, but ask me if I can remember that theater experience. No, can't do that because that was over 20 years ago. But I know that I did see it, and this is probably the guilty pleasure movie of the Star Wars series for me because, yeah, I know it has a whole slew of problems. I know there's so many issues with this movie. The story, the characters, the acting, the overuse of CGI, but honestly, I have a great time with it every time I watch it.
Yeah.
There's the same things that everyone says. Jar Jar is annoying. Jake Lloyd is terrible as Anakin. Both of those are true. But again, going back to the Kelly Marie Tran thing, don't bully the actors because you didn't like them in these movies.
He's also just a little kid.
Jake Lloyd was just a kid, and he after the bullying he received from this movie, he quit acting.
Yeah.
And in the past decade or so, he was diagnosed as schizophrenic, and at one point he kidnapped his mom.
Oh boy.
And Ahmed Best, the man who played Jar Jar, was bullied so badly that he contemplated suicide. Yeah. It's stuff like that that makes people not really like Star Wars fans. Now, Ahmed Best has, I'd say he's redeemed himself, but he really never needed to, since he himself didn't do anything wrong. It was just the fans being jerks that caused that contributed to this. But he's since played Jar Jar again on the Clone Wars, where he's not as annoying. Honestly, he's kind of helpful on that show, and he's funny sometimes. Especially in the episode where he and Mace Windu are put together. And also, Ahmed Best appeared on this past season on The Mandalorian as the Jedi that saved Grogu at the temple from Order 66.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool too. But yeah, this is purely a nostalgic pick for me, and I really enjoy this movie, The Phantom Menace. We have, you know, great action, especially the last lightsaber fight between Maul, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan, and some of the best music in this series with Duel of the Fates.
Yeah.
You know, John Williams is working overtime on these movies, making music that's sometimes better than the movies that they're attached to.
Usually, yeah. Some pretty good music.
Yeah. So, what do you have to say about The Phantom Menace?
Again, it's probably up higher than what it needs to be, but that's just because of the novelty of it, I guess. You know, there's just something special about it, even though it's
it's not great, but
it's
enjoyable.
Fun, yeah, you can watch it and have a good time, I think.
Now, on to number 7.
And our number 7s are the same as well.
Our number 7s are Solo, a Star Wars story.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're probably placing this a bit higher than it needs to be too, because this is the movie we saw on our first date.
Yeah.
Okay, we met at the movie theater and we saw Solo.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was this a movie that needed to exist? No, not really. If anything, this was a pretty unnecessary story to tell. But as far as unnecessary stories go, it was pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, it did tell us some things that we didn't necessarily need to know, like how Han got his last name, which I would have figured was just his last name, but no, he got it because he was alone.
Yeah.
But it was nice to see how he got the Falcon, which was hinted at before from Lando and Empire.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, not a wholly necessary story, but a fun one.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, Alden Ehrenreich was perfectly fine as a young Han Solo.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Harrison Ford will always have that character, but
yeah,
as far as younger recastings go, not a bad pick.
Yeah, I thought he did pretty well with some of the mannerisms of Han Solo. I think he was a fine choice.
And, of course, Donald Glover as a young Lando. Absolutely fantastic. I love that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But, of course, according to me, Donald Glover can do no wrong. So, I'm the wrong person to ask for an unbiased opinion on Donald Glover.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... Anything else you want to say about Solo?
I don't think so. I think you pretty much said it all. I do enjoy this movie. I think it's fine. Yeah, I guess so.
All right, now my number 6
is different than mine.
Yeah, so my number 6 is Revenge of the Sith. Now, going forward, you know, this one up until number 1 are Star Wars movies that I love. Okay, now as you can see, that this takes up over half of the list, but that's what happens, man. So why is Revenge of the Sith so low down on my list? Well, honestly, for as much as I do love about this movie, it has a lot of problems that bring it down quite a bit. For instance, the story is kind of half-baked, if we're being completely honest. Like, yeah, we know that Anakin is going to be falling to the dark side by the end of it. It's really rushed, though. And a lot of the stuff in this movie that should make you feel a certain way, it doesn't have quite the context needed at the time without, you know, because Clone Wars didn't exist yet. We didn't have multiple seasons of TV to build all these characters up to make it so that we did care about them enough when they died in this movie or when something happened to them. You know, so without the context of Clone Wars, Revenge of the Sith kind of falls a bit flat to me. Now, having said that, this is still a blast of a time. Like seriously, from the start of the movie till the end, I am on the edge of my seat. Now, yeah, that's probably a bit contradictory with what I just said, but I'm looking at this on a on an objective level and a subjective level. You know what? You know, even if it does, I'm looking at what does work and what works for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I gotta keep I gotta keep my biases in check with this one.
I don't. I am very biased.
Because there was a point in my life when I was watching this movie pretty much every day.
Nerd.
You're doing this video with me.
Yeah, but I didn't watch Star Wars every day.
Be a lot cooler if you did. Anyways, but yeah, there's a lot to love about this movie. Ian McDiarmid, for one, whatever Star Wars movie he's in, he's gonna be one of the best parts. The music, this movie probably has the best music in any Star Wars movie.
What name did you say earlier?
When?
Just now.
Ian McDiarmid.
Who's he?
He plays Palpatine.
Oh, okay, yeah. I had a brain fart. Sorry.
Okay. Anyways, the music in this movie is probably the best it's been in any Star Wars movie. And I will die on this hill because this movie has some really great music.
Just yeah, definitely.
All the returning scores, all of the new music, it's just banger after banger, right? You know, one after another. It's absolutely amazing, and if I could, I would own this movie's soundtrack on vinyl, but I don't, so I can't.
All right, what number is this? 6?
Yeah, 6.
Okay. My number 6 is Attack of the Clones. This one is more like my guilty pleasure Star Wars movie, I guess, because even though I am aware that it is a very unlikable movie and that a lot of people don't like it, it has its flaws, yes.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I like it. I don't know. It's something I can't really explain. I'm perfectly fine with it. I know it's terrible and I know the acting's bad, but I feel like, I don't know, that gives it a likable quality for me. You know, I love that bad acting. But yeah, I guess that's really all I have to say. There's also good music in this one. I don't know if you mentioned that or not.
There was, yeah.
And John Williams is always on top of it, man.
That's true.
Yeah.
And it did have some pretty good action in it, especially with that Jango Fett and Obi-Wan fight. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. I'm fine with moving on if you are ready.
Okay. So, number 5. My number 5 is Return of the Jedi. To me, this was a perfect capper on the original trilogy. It wrapped up all the emotional and story beats of the movie, and it did it in a very effective way. You know, seeing the culmination of Luke and Vader's relationship, how he was able to bring his father back from the dark side and back to the light, was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. And this was the first time we saw Ian McDiarmid as the Emperor. Later on, he would be added to Empire Strikes Back in place of Clive Revill, but this is the first one he was actually in. And what a great first impression to get from the Emperor. Because we from the moment he arrives, he is owning the screen. He's just absolutely chewing the scenery and hamming it up in the best way possible. And we could tell that this is a guy that Vader will bow down to. You know, we see that quickly, especially since he does bow down to him in this first scene. But you know what I mean. This is a guy who has Vader by the balls, and we can tell why. Now, there are some things that I don't like in this movie, like the Ewoks.
I love the Ewok.
I hate Ewoks, but not as much as I hate Jawas. We'll get into that later.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like this movie was it got hit particularly hard by the special editions, and also helped a little bit too. Hurt by it in that it gave us all that crap in Jabba's palace, like all those singers just
Mm-hmm.
being awful.
Yeah.
But it did also take out Yubnub from the ending, and I hate Yubnub. It replaced it with a very fitting John Williams score.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What is that? I have like almost all his sheet music. So I'm trying to remember.
I'll show it to you later.
Okay.
But yeah, in watching Luke and Vader's final fight, it gets so emotional because Vader reads Luke's mind and finds out that he has a sister and he's gonna turn her too. So Luke just goes crazy, using his anger to fight Vader, and that with the music, it's just, oh, it's so great. I love it.
Yeah.
It's moments like that make me really love Star Wars, when it makes me feel awed by it.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like I'm a kid again. It's fantastic. I love it. So,
Alright.
you're number 5.
My number 5, I went with Rogue One. I really love this movie. I saw it in theaters, and like the first few minutes, well, maybe more than the first few minutes, but I was kind of worried because I was like, this doesn't really feel like a Star Wars movie.
No opening crawl.
Yeah, I was like, well, I don't know how to feel about this. And then by the end, I was completely changed. This movie was phenomenal. I loved all the characters. I was really shocked by the ending. I guess I shouldn't have been, because everyone died. I shouldn't have been shocked by it, but yet I was. I was like, oh man, they really did just kill off all the characters.
Everyone died.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, we couldn't let any of these people live. We had to kill them all.
Mm-hmm.
Respect.
Yeah.
I can respect that, Disney.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. That's why I have it up so high. What about? Oh, you ready to move on to your number 4?
I can do that.
All right.
My number 4 is The Force Awakens.
Much higher than mine.
Yeah, very. Now, when this movie came out, I was working at a movie theater at the time, so I really hated every showing of the movie. We had to clean up a whole lot of a mess, because for some reason people are idiots and they decide to leave their trash all over the place.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. There's a trash can right over there. Just use it. You'll make our jobs a lot easier. But that's getting into a whole thing of like, okay, it just delays us for all our other shows, which a lot of them are The Force Awakens. But getting back to the actual movie, this is probably one of the movies I've seen in the movies the most. Because I saw it like 6 times in theaters.
Oh boy.
But granted, I was again working in a movie theater at the time, so I didn't pay for most of those.
Yeah.
Now, this movie, people have said it's a rehash of A New Hope.
Yes, I have said that.
You did say that. They do hit some of the same story beats, but these are 2 distinct movies. Like, plot wise, character. Okay, not plot wise, but you know what I mean. It's like, yeah, they hit the same beats, but they're more or less 2 different movies still. But what I really like about The Force Awakens is I guess the fact that it is kind of safe, honestly, and it takes the same plot and does more or less the same thing, but it does it well, I think.
Yeah.
And at the time, we had no idea what was going to happen next. Neither did Disney. So seeing all these new characters like Rey, Poe, and Finn, seeing all these new people and seeing and wondering, okay, what's going to happen with them? You know, it was really fun to think about what's going to happen next. Not a lot happened, but you know
Yeah.
what? We didn't know that at the time. And Daisy Ridley is going to be returning as Rey in a movie that's going to be set like 15 years after Rise of Skywalker. Hopefully, Rey's a interesting character in that one because she sure wasn't in the sequel trilogy.
No.
Like, yeah, she's likable enough, and I'm not going to call her a Mary Sue or nothing, but she's just not that interesting.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we got a little bit of something in the Last Jedi when we find out that no, she's not related to anyone special. She came from nobody, which I was fine with.
Yeah.
It's like because not everything has to tie back to something that happened in the older movies.
You're right. Yeah.
But then in Rise of Skywalker, it's like,
They
lol,
changed
no,
it,
she's a
yeah.
Palpatine. Like, really, guys? I liked what you were doing before. Why
Yeah.
change it? That's not necessary.
Yeah.
But for the time being, the future was bright, and we were just waiting to see what happened. Which, in hindsight, not the best choice. But you know what? Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah. All right.
Your number 4.
My number 4 is Revenge of the Sith. I have this one pretty high, and I just really enjoy this movie. I don't know what it is. I don't know if maybe it's just because like I said, I am biased for sure. I like what I like, and that's that, I guess.
You like what you like, and that's what you like.
Yeah. I like the music. I like the fight scene between Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Oh yeah,
The emotional stakes are high.
I forgot to mention that. That was one of the best lightsaber fights in the whole series.
I think there's a lot of good things about this. I know that people still don't really like it too much sometimes, but
it's better than most of the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. I think there's a special place for it in my Star Wars heart.
Oh, one thing I also forgot to mention, all of the memes.
Oh yeah, lots of memes.
Lots of memes. Like, most of the memes that come from the prequel trilogy come from this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just to name a few. This is where the fun begins. It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground. Order 66 and killing younglings. Just to name a few. Or, I've been looking forward to this. Just so many. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely forgetting a whole lot more.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of memes.
Yeah.
This movie was especially meme prevalent. Like, I could probably go on tvtropes.com and look at the meme page for each of the prequels, and this one will probably have a much longer list, if I had to guess.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, you already spent some time talking about this movie, so.
Anything more you want to say? She says no.
I guess not. I was trying to think. I was like, nah. Let's just move on. This video is going on too long. Your number 3.
My number 3 is Rogue One. Now, I saw this movie with Alex after a night of heavy drinking at a gay bar.
Okay.
With karaoke. Now, we just drove back from Kenosha, and because we were going to see this movie, and I didn't know what to think of, what to think going in. Honestly, all I knew was this team of rebels going in and getting the Death Star plans. Like, cool, that seems neat. Could be fun. And there was lots of reports of reshoots going on with this movie, which is a perfectly normal thing for movies to do. Most movies do that. Okay, and the movie that we got ended up not really matching up with the trailers too much. There's a lot of footage in the trailers that just was not used because they reshot it.
I don't remember the trailers.
I'll show you.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, so in hindsight, this probably wouldn't have been. I probably wouldn't have had the most optimism for this if I knew all of this going in. Like, obviously, a lot of this comes out after the fact. Like you hear some stuff here and there, but like you know, you know, you know what I mean. But then you
No.
okay, but then you but then you go into the movie and it starts off no opening crawl. So it's like okay, that's a neat way to distinguish it from the other movies, but okay. Because at this point there's like 7 movies with that, so you're used to it. So you get something different. It's like, huh, I don't know how to feel about that. But as the movie goes on and we get to know all of these characters, really get you really get to know them, and you really like hanging out with them, just being there with all of them.
Hmm.
You know, you got Jin, you got Cassian, you got Chirrut and Baze, you got Bodhi, you got K2. K2, man, I love K2. I love Alan Tudyk. And
Yeah.
now, characters like Cassian and Jin aren't the most developed in this movie, which really sucks because everyone dies. But
Hmm.
they're likable enough so that you want to hang out with them still. And Chirrut as a blind Force acolyte played by Donnie Yen, I thought he was awesome. He was one of my favorite characters in this movie.
Yeah. Really cool character.
You know, as we saw again in John Wick Chapter 4 this past year, or this past month, Donnie Yen plays blind badasses really well,
Hmm.
and it's really cool. It's really cool seeing him be blind and beat up a whole bunch of guys or kill them. Point is, he's awesome. He plays blind awesome guys really well,
Yeah. All right.
and just the tragedy of this whole thing, just this this plucky group of rebels getting the plans of the Death Star and handing it to rebellion as they die. You really get a sense of the
Hmm.
tragedy of this movie, because reports about this movie before it came out were that this was going to be the Star Wars movie that puts the war in Star Wars, which maybe was like, okay, really? I mean, come on. But it did do that.
Yeah.
We get the amazing ground battle on Scarif, the the battle in space above them. But this final act is so great. It's one of the
Hmm.
best in all of Star Wars. And then we get to the Vader scene.
Oh
Oh,
yeah. Best scene.
best scene in the movie. This is like the the all the rebels are trying to get the plans through, and it's dark. We hear we just all we hear is the creaking of metal in the ships, and then we hear Vader's breathing,
Uh
and
huh.
then he activates his lightsaber, and we're in for a wild ride because he kills every single rebel in that hallway. It's awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's a really cool scene.
That was great. I love that.
Hmm.
Like my jaw was on the floor the whole time because we had never seen Vader act like that before.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he was cool in the original trilogy, but he wasn't. He was never a terrifying Sith Force before. Like here, he's cutting through all these rebels like Jason does through campers. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But we'll go more into detail about all these movies when we do a full legit review of them.
Hmm.
So, what was your number 3?
My number three is Return of the Jedi. Um, the original trilogy, obviously, as you will see my list, are some of my favorite movies of all time. Return of the Jedi was just, um, for me, I guess not quite up there as the first two, but I obviously still really like it because I put it at number three. Um, I feel like it was a good ending to the trilogy, or yeah, the original trilogy. It was just nice seeing all the classic characters finish their stories, and yeah, it was just a good ending. I thought.
Yeah, and if you were, I guess if you were around at the time when this movie came out,
I was not.
neither of us were. Then, the I wonder how people felt back then. It's like, what's next?
Yeah.
Because yeah, there was books and stuff, but like, how many people actually read them and stuff. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyways, do you have anything more to say?
No, I think you covered it well whenever you talked about it. So it looks like our number 2 and our number 1s are the same.
Yeah.
So we can just combine
Imagine
them.
that.
Yeah.
So, our number 2 is A New Hope. So, this is the first Star Wars movie, obviously. So, it's interesting to go back to this and look at how this huge, massive empire, to put it lightly, started. It's like this simple little sci-fi movie about a farm kid who rises up against an evil empire. How that all started.
Yeah.
With this simple movie, and this is one of the best movies I've ever seen. Like, this is just.
It is.
This is so great. I love it. I love all of the characters in this movie, even the ones that you're supposed to hate, like Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yeah.
As played by the magnificent Peter Cushing. Even bit roles like that are absolutely fantastic in this movie. And actually, he was he regretted that he got killed off in this movie because he really liked being in it.
Yeah.
Well, he did get to come back in Rogue One, sort of.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
You could say that, yeah.
But yeah, it's fun to go back to the beginning and see where all this came from. And yeah, this is not an original story. This is taking inspiration from so many things that came before it. Samurai stories, spaghetti westerns, just the classic hero's journey. So none of this is really original, but it's doing it so well that I don't care. From the opening crawl, I was hooked. Like, I first saw the original trilogy when I was 3, 4, really young, very young. And it's something that's stayed with me ever since. That I really love it. When we have kids, I am 100% going to show them these movies, starting with this movie, with A New Hope. Star Wars obviously has quite a bit of influence on our own lives. I mean, for instance, at our wedding, you walked down to the throne room music from the end of this movie.
I recommend that to any brides who are, a little silly, a little nerdy. Walk down to throne room. It makes you feel powerful.
Although, also with the way that movie is, that means you're the Han and I'm the Leia.
Yes. that is true.
Hey, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Such a Leia.
Anyways, what do you have to say about A New Hope?
You pretty much summed it up. You pretty much summed it up. Oh my gosh, you pretty much summed it all up. Anyways, before I get upset with myself, because I can't talk, it is one of the most classic stories of all time, Like you said, classic hero's journey, and this one little story created
all of this.
So much. So much.
Let's see. This 46-year-old movie, because this movie came out on this day back in 1977. Shut up, laptop. This 46-year-old movie just lay the groundwork for so much that so many of us love. There's a reason why all of us on the internet fell in love with Star Wars to begin with. It was because of this movie. And, just getting past all of the sequel hate, the prequel hate, there's a lot of Star Wars hate. Getting past everything that every one of us hate or fight over. None of this, the good or the bad, would be possible without this movie. And it's one that I'm going to enjoy for the rest of my life.
Yep, I agree.
Now, before we get to the really rather obvious number one. Let's go to a few honorable mentions just to get it out
What
of
do
the
you
way.
mean? There's no more Star Wars movies.
True, but I want to briefly talk about the stuff that didn't quite make the list because of the rules we set up.
Oh, okay.
So, Clone Wars. Great storytelling, wonderful story arcs, character journeys that takes place between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, and a little bit during Revenge of the Sith, but couldn't quite make the list because it wouldn't be fair. Because this is really honestly Star Wars at its best. The Mandalorian, a wonderful story about an original character in this universe who goes through his own journey while taking care of this little baby. You know, trying to figure out his culture and all that it entails. The Mandalorian is a really immersive and fantastic story that I can't wait till we get more of. And Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga, a wonderful adaptation of the first 6 movies that I'm always down to put back in.
Very fun game.
Yeah.
Also, the Ewok movies wouldn't be fair because they would be automatically 1 and 2 on both of our lists because, you know, Ewoks are cool.
And a quick dishonorable mention, the holiday special.
Yeah.
You Suck.
I tried to watch that one time and I almost died, so I could not. Cannot watch it again.
At one point, George Lucas said that if he had the time and a sledgehammer, he would find every copy and destroy it.
Yeah.
It's hard to say that I blame him. I really don't.
You can't destroy the internet, though.
No.
Sorry, George Lucas.
But if you got some time on your hands and a bottle of Jack,
Yeah.
go ahead, because you're gonna need it.
All right. The number 1 Star Wars movie in our opinion.
Gee, I wonder what it could be. It's The Empire.
Know.
It's Empire Strikes Back. Like, if you've seen our top 10 movies of all time, Empire was on both of our lists.
Yes.
Well, for you, it was the original trilogy.
I was very vague. Yes.
But Empire, come on.
Yeah.
Now, I said that the Clone Wars is Star Wars at its best. That is true. But Empire is at its best when it comes to the movies. Okay, everyone's story gets progressed farther with this one. Okay, every plot beat evolves and the characters evolve with them. We get a much darker follow-up to a really wonderful original that at the time was the highest grossing movie of all time. And we get a story that really did not play it safe at all. We get a story that both kids and adults can love and enjoy. I know I did when I first saw this movie when I was a little kid, and I still do every time I watch it. It is from the first scene on Hoth to the ending with Luke and Leia in the with the Rebel fleet. This movie grabs me every time and never lets me go. Okay. Also, this movie was the least affected by Lucas's special edition changes. Like, we get some stuff here and there, like some stuff on Bespin with them, making the city seem more expansive, and we get to see more of it. And probably the best special edition change, the Empire, because why not? Replace Clive Revel with Ian McDiarmid? This is not meant to be any sort of disrespect toward Clive Revel. He was good in the original version of the scene, but if I had to choose between the two, I'm gonna go with Ian McDiarmid. You know, this brings it in line with not only the prequels but the next movie chronologically.
Yeah.
And he's just a much more imposing emperor, honestly. I mean, what more is there to say about this movie that really no one else has said before? You know, I love it. You love it.
I love it.
All of you on the internet love it too, probably.
You have to.
You know, it's The Empire Strikes Back, and it is our favorite Star Wars movie.
Yes, it is.
You know, I can't think of anything in this movie that I really don't like, except that it ends.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie is basically perfect for me. I love it every time I get to watch it. And why don't I watch it more?
I don't know.
I don't know either. That's probably gonna have to do it for us, unless you have anything else to say.
Nah, I'm good.
Well, we'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.
Bye bye.